Well, hello there. Have you ever wondered why George Washington didn't just go by his initials, GW, instead of his full name? Me neither. Let's move on. Uh, welcome, everybody. Hello and welcome to History 17A, U.S. History to 1877 at Sierra College, the online version. I am your host and tour guide, Professor Christian Jardine, but you may call me Professor Christian Jardine. Little humor, very little. Why have I summoned you here today? First, I wanted to just give kind of a shout out. Welcome, welcome. But also to give you some introductory remarks to kind of give you sort of a broad picture of the class. It'll take about 15 minutes. I'm going to start by telling you a bit about myself, not because you're wildly interested, because I believe it helps to break the ice a bit in an online class, personalize it somewhat. Online classes are great, but they can be a bit impersonal. I'd also like it if you'd send me an email, give me sort of a little blurb bio about yourself. Don't make it an autobiography. I don't have time for that. I'm mainly interested in why you're taking my class, why you're taking history, what your goals are in school and life, etc. And if you don't want to do it, that's fine. There's no points involved. It's purely voluntary. But this, again, kind of helps break the ice both ways. So I'll start off myself, my own little bio. I was born, not born, I shouldn't say that. I was raised almost all of my childhood in Stockton, California. Yes, make all the jokes you like. Fair enough. I was the only child, or am still, of a teacher and a hairdresser. I grew up in a nice, comfy, middle class neighborhood and went to good schools. So I was blessed. My ethnic and cultural background are Italian Catholic on my father's side and German Jewish Protestant on my mother's. But I was raised in a primarily secular, not particularly religious household. Uh, uh, but those are my sort of cultural roots. I played competitive tennis all my life, still do. I played the piano seriously for many, many years. And my other great hobby, the one that kind of dominates now, yes, you guessed it, reading. And I read copiously. So you're probably not surprised by that. As far as my professional background is concerned, I hold 2 degrees, a bachelor's and a master's degree in history from Sacramento State University, and I've lived in this area ever since. I've been teaching at the college level for 25 years. Wow. I can't even believe it myself. And I've worked for Sierra College all that time, but also for American River College and Woodland Community College all that time. I'm like a stray cat that shows up outside your door and you feed it, and as long as you feed it, it just keeps coming back. They keep giving me classes, and I keep coming back for 25 years. A creature of habit, apparently. I teach a variety of courses, but primarily the 2 survey courses in U.S. history, one of which you're in right now, the 2 Western Civ surveys, and the 2 world history surveys. Okay, so that's enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think of me? Sorry, that's a joke I stole from an old movie, and I use it like every semester. I've beaten that joke to death. I need to get some new material. Let's talk about briefly, more on this later on, of course, what the class entails as far as the workload is concerned. There are regular PowerPoint lectures in every unit. This is the main way, main vehicle I use to impart information and knowledge to you. There are discussion groups online, web-based assignments, what I call mini exams. There are no big exams, but there are a bunch of small exams, which take smaller chunks of material and test you more frequently. We will have a 1-hour live meeting once a week. Don't panic. It's not mandatory. It's voluntary. If you can't make it, I won't punish you for it. I can't. This isn't supposed to be a live course overall. So the meeting will be on Zoom, and if you can't make it, you can watch the recorded version after the fact, which will also be on Zoom. Anybody who goes to either the live or the recorded version of any one or more or all of the uh, uh, weekly meetings will get an extra credit for it. It's a small bit of extra credit for each one, but that adds up after a while. But I want to reiterate, you're not required to do this. It's optional. What will we do in those meetings? It'll really be a study session. I'll be leading you through sort of a study material for the next upcoming exam, whichever unit we're on that particular week. And so some students do find it valuable, but you don't have to do it. When the entire class does go on Canvas, live, and everything is up and running, and I don't know when you're going to be seeing this, so maybe it already will be by the time you get to this. But you should work first to familiarize yourself with Canvas. Not that you don't know how to use Canvas. Most of you probably know how to use it better than I do. But to know, to figure out how I've structured the class in Canvas. You want to know where to find things, where to go, what to do before we even start. So before the first assignment of any type, you want to already know where to find it. So you don't have to do that, it causes more anxiety than necessary when you're trying to do an assignment, say at the last minute, and you don't even know where to find it. So you want to know how to navigate your way around the way I use and have structured Canvas in this class. And the most important part of Canvas for me, the way I use it, is one of the menu items on the left, they're always on the left side, called modules. Many instructors use modules in similar ways. So basically the whole class is laid out there. So we want to think modules, 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 not just at the outset, but all the way through the class. You'll find an introductory module that if you go through that step by step, it basically helps you to, again, get acquainted with how this course is structured on Canvas. Underneath that, there's a syllabus module. And yes, you guessed it, it's where you find the syllabus. It is in module form. Some people will email me and say, I can't find your syllabus on modules. Well, did you find the syllabus module? Yes, that's the syllabus. So if you read that entire syllabus module, top to bottom, you've read the syllabus. And I would encourage you to do so because it makes fascinating reading. Absolutely not. It's dull and deathly boring. It's nothing if not boring. But the problem is, if you don't read it, you're probably going to miss out on some things some details. It lays out everything in the class. So it's important to read it and get all this introductory stuff taken care of, however dull and boring and time consuming it is, if you want to succeed in the class. Your chances of succeeding go down to the extent that you avoid this stuff at the beginning. Beneath the introductory and syllabus modules, there's a web-based module. And the web-based assignments are all contained there. Every link that you'll need, the link to the actual websites themselves, the links, because there's more than one assignment, are all there. So you want to remember this. You want to know where it is, find it ahead of time, because students often have questions about the web-based assignments since they kind of go on over a long period of time, and they panic. I don't know where the website is. I don't know where the assignment itself is. It's in the web-based assignment module. That's why it's called that. So always go back there. Below that, then the classes organized week by week and all laid out in modules from week 1 to week 16. So if you look at the week 4 module, and I don't know what it looks like, I forget at the moment, but it lays out the reading assignments, what chapter to read. The PowerPoint lectures are always in modules. Click on there. If it's the American Revolution, click on PowerPoint lecture, American Revolution, and it takes you right to it. Any homework assignments, web-based assignments, discussion groups, exams that might be due at the end of that week or done at the, to be taken at the end of that week, will all be right there at your fingertips in modules. Some of these things you can find in other places on Canvas. Canvas is good, putting things in multiple places, almost too much, but modules, I think, is your best bet in this class when you become confused. I don't know what we're doing in this week, whatever. Well, find out which week it is and look at that module. And it's not going to change. There it is. All right. What are we actually studying in this class? Well, this is a survey course of American history to 1877. We'll actually start 15,000 years ago with the first Americans, well before European colonists ever arrived, and go all the way up to the Civil War and beyond. The class will give you a kind of narrative overview of some of the most significant political events, political history, broadly construed, as well as sort of how those relate to larger social forces, social history broadly construed, which includes a look at what historians sometimes called the impersonal forces in history, larger economic and demographic forces, for instance. Mass migration is a larger force. But also, we'll look at social groups in American history, often underprivileged and oppressed groups like women, slaves, small farmers, etc. Political events, important ones like the Constitutional Convention, like the Louisiana Purchase, but not just the events themselves and the leaders who made those events, who are famous for doing this or that. We'll look at them too, the Thomas Jeffersons and the Frederick Douglasses of American history, but also how events done by those famous and powerful leaders affected the groups of people, average folks in society, like farmers and African Americans and women, etc., and how those people, responded and took matters into their own hands, showed agency as historical agents in their own right, not just people just sitting back and waiting to be either helped or harmed by the rich and the powerful, who are, again, the famous ones who often, dominate the textbooks, at least did in the past. Now, social history and political history live together in textbooks, as they probably always should have. History is an empirically based subject, and so we do have to know some of the basic who, what, when, where. Yes, that means I'm saying we're going to have to memorize some names, dates, events, etc. So to head that question off at the pass, yes. There's no way around it. It's sort of foundational knowledge that we'll need to sort of take a deeper dive. But we will take that deeper dive as well, looking at history from a more complex viewpoint, meaning we'll ask questions about the past, the why and the how. So the who, what, when, and where is important enough, but the why and the how gets trickier, but also gets more interesting. The why and the how includes interpreting the past, and it's where we start seeing disagreement among historians and disagreement even among ourselves about how we interpret history. Among Americans, our students today. We'll see that history can help us to understand the present, things are happening now, or maybe even the future. We will look at drawing conclusions about history, looking at cause and effect, continuity and change, etc. So we're making a strenuous effort to try to ask questions and find answers about historical episodes in the past and historical events and so forth. I also feel it necessary here. Sorry, don't want to miss anything, so I scrolled down a bit. I have a little bit of a cheat sheet here. I think it's necessary for me to lay out my teaching philosophy at the beginning. I didn't used to do this at the very beginning, but online classes, I think, make it more necessary to do this before I forget. So I put it in the introductory blurb here and now. So I see my job as teaching you history, but not teaching you what to think about history, to assist you in improving your ability to think about serious and important subjects in the past and today, but not what to think about them. Therefore, I try to be as objective as I can. I'm not perfect, but I try to be as objective as possible and present the subject from various viewpoints, not just one or my own viewpoint. And to do this, I have to kind of step away from making moral judgments about the past, which isn't to say that you can't make moral judgments of the past. Judge away. But I see my role as providing you with different ways to look at things, and you can make those judgments yourself and on your own. Part of the reason I do it this way is because I don't like alienating any students, not even one. So I don't like take political sides, if we're talking about the past or, in some way that it connects to the present. I don't take sides. I have my own views politically. Trust me, I do. But I try to keep those to myself. And I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable because they have a political view that I've expressed already that mine's different, or vice versa, the other way around. So I don't like making anyone feel uncomfortable. So I stay away from that. You don't have to, but I stay away from it and let you make those conclusions. I'm trying to help you think about history more effectively and understand it better so that you can make those kind of calls on your own in a more educated way. That I see as my job. I will sometimes play devil's advocate, meaning if a student or a group of students expresses a strong viewpoint about this or that in history or a related issue today, I will sometimes ask them questions, causing them to, or trying to get them, I should say, causing, heaven forbid, to re-examine what they think and why, and see if maybe they might not be mistaken, or they might have left something out and haven't considered all the possibilities, so that maybe they, heaven forbid, don't sort of have it all squared away. I won't be necessarily expressing my own views when I do that. Whatever position somebody takes, if I think they're not looking at all the ways of looking at it, I will play devil's advocate, I mean, jumping on the other side and trying to show them how else it can be and is seen by other historians, other scholars, other people, etc. Again, that being said, I'm human. I certainly have my own perspective, and once in a while, I do interject my own opinion. But I work at not doing it very much. One sort of further quick note, more specifically with regard to U.S. history itself as a subject of study, consistent with the philosophy I've just sort of laid out for you there. I look at U.S. history from both a glass half empty and a glass half full perspective. What does that mean? Well, it's uh, it, there are all too many. I mean, way too many horrific misdeeds done by Americans to other peoples, evil deeds done to other peoples in other countries, but to certain groups within America itself, such as slavery, the destruction of Native American cultures, uh, aggressive wars like the Mexican-American War, which are ugly to have to look at. But we do have to look at them seriously and face them squarely and honestly and deal with them thoroughly, and we will. However, right, that's kind of, so that part of it, seeing the glass half empty. It's the more critical, pessimistic side of American history. But I do believe that's not the full picture. The good comes with the bad comes with the good, which is true of all civilizations, all societies, past and present. There are things that are terrible, we have to deal with in their past, and things that are laudable achievements. And we'll look at some of those social achievements, individual ones. So social achievements, political achievements, the rise of American democracy. We're kind of down on our own democracy in this time period, and there are some reasons to be. But I think Americans have become complacent. We've had not just democracy politically, but sort of democratic values uh, dominating our society for so long. We take them for granted. We don't even really see how important they are. If you have ever lived in another country, you probably understand it better. At least another country that's not democratic or as democratic as the U.S. Uh, if you haven't and you do at some point, you probably will get a renewed sense of what this society does provide you that you might not see right now. So I do believe in sort of looking at the upside as well as the horrors of American history. We'll meet some sort of remarkable we'll look at some remarkable creativity, the antebellum literary renaissance, at least thought of that way much of the time. Through a number of decades, there was an outpouring of explosion of creativity, not just in writing, but in the arts in general, particularly in literature. Figures such as Ralph Waldo Emerson, Emily Dickinson, Edgar Allan Poe, who you're probably familiar with, Herman Melville, and many others, created some astonishingly beautiful and beautiful and brilliant works of literature. So those kind of things I do think deserve to be and should be brought out as well. Uh, History can be depressing if we just focus on the negative all the time. Uh, and again, those negatives are there. We can't avoid them. We shouldn't avoid them, and we won't. But balancing it out, I think, is more true to the reality. Because there's an upside and a downside to any society, as I've already mentioned. Okay, so with those beginnings, this introduction complete, I look forward to meeting all of you, so to speak, and hope you will join me in what I think, you might not, is sort of an exciting voyage of discovery about the American past. So until then, I bid you adieu. Adieu.